Welcome back to Society Case Files. My name is Robert, and today I want to talk about another Dark Adventure Radio Theater. If you like this kind of content and you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, let's dive right in. We're going to talk about the episode called The Shunned House. Now, the last time I did a video like this, I covered 2 in 1, and it wasn't super detailed. I sort of talked more about how much I love audio dramas in general and how those two were awesome. They were The Iron Maiden and The Temple. Both great, both about an hour long, and absolutely worth your time to listen to. Now, I'm going to go a little bit more detailed into the Shunned House and see how I feel about the format. See if I go too far, whatever. There's only so deep I can go without getting into too much spoiler territory, so I'm going to do my best to avoid that. But the Shunned House is by the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society under the Dark Adventure Radio Theater banner. The idea of this is that there's this really old, creepy house that basically people have been dying in for a long time and mysteriously, and effectively a group of people have been kind of looking into it throughout history, and now a young man has really taken a deep dive into the investigation, discovered a lot of information, and now he is under some kind of psychiatric care as they try to determine what happened at the house on this creepy night. The voice acting in this is absolutely top-notch. Everybody steps up 100%. And, of course, this is a full-cast audio drama. They've got all of the sound effects, music, everything else. And it could very easily be a film if they just put it to that. It has all of the landmarks of it. Of course, because it's an audio drama, there's a few extra things you have to do. So you're going to get like a voiceover explaining what's happening in a scene that might be traveling or action, whereas in a movie, obviously, you just get to watch that part. And I think that one of my favorite things that Dark Adventure Radio Theater does is manages to bring you into the cinematic action without having to see it. And that's always been one of the greatest strengths of this type of entertainment. It's one of the things that I like the most about the ones that I do. It just taught me to create stories in a totally different way. And there are a lot of examples of how to make these just by listening to other people, because even if you don't want to like go down the rabbit hole of finding independent folks making them, they've got Big Finish that's doing Doctor Who and Dark Shadows and a bunch of old 1960s and 70s TV shows into audio dramas. You've got Dark Adventure Radio Theater with well over 20 episodes available from different Lovecraft stories and that kind of thing. And one of the coolest things about Dark Adventure Radio Theater is that they've got all of these sort of stories that they've done as full cast dramas, but they also released a audiobook collection of all of Lovecraft's stories. So if you really want to see how much work they put in to convert these into the dramas, you could go and listen to them do the Reanimator story, for example, and then go and listen to their Reanimator drama. And it is night and day different because there's just so much more tension and build up. I mean, I know the Reanimator story extremely well. I've read it many times. I've seen the movie a bunch of times. And when I listened to the drama, it was like hearing it again for the first time. So that said, these newer ones where they have really honed their craft, like the Shunned House and the others that I've talked about so far, you really do get a sense that they just know how to create that structure to make the story just come alive. And the Shunned House really does live up to that 100%. I think that it is one of my favorite stories of this type because, technically speaking, the monster in it really appeals to me. Again, I'm skirting around specifics to avoid any of the big spoilers that might ruin it. Something else they do to help enhance these productions is if you like physical copies of stuff, they actually offer a whole bunch of props to go with their productions. Sometimes newspaper clippings, maps, postcards, all kinds of stuff. They just create all this cool art that you could get as well. Now, I don't really have room to go that crazy and get all of their physical product and display it somewhere. And I don't really even have a way to listen to CDs anymore. per se, certainly not easily. So I personally go for the digital copies. They offer them in chaptered formats, so you can have them broken up, and they also have a single file version. They're actually fairly inexpensive, depending on the length. It's like $12 to get the digital version, and then you could get the physical ones for around $25. And again, you get tons of cool stuff with it. So all around, they have a lot of value for what they produce. As far as the chaptered versions go, I personally like that because if you're like listening to it in the car while you're going somewhere and you get to your destination before it's over, you could at least look and say, hey, at least, I'm on chapter 5. I can pause here, and it's easier to find it again. Whereas in the full version, the one file version, you'd have to be like, where was I? What time was it at? Sometimes iTunes doesn't necessarily remember where I left off, and so that could get frustrating. But anyway, The Shunned House was a fantastic story, excellent production value, and kind of scary all around. Just the way that they did the history and everything, it really conjured up some of my favorite stories they did, like Charles Dexter Ward. They really deep dive in that one, and this one has a little hint of that, and I liked it. So anyway, have you checked out any audio dramas? Are you going to after watching this? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, this is Robert with Society Case Files, signing off.